I fell in love with the drummers in particular of the big band era that had this excitement I'd never seen before. And I said, what if I applied the same ideas from these more, modern drummers, Carter and all these people, in a freedom style kind of thing? And I said, this is where it's at. Yeah, I love this. I want to focus on that style, because just like I said, nobody's doing it. There's something I can do that separates me.
Dude.
What's up?
Hey everyone, so I hope you enjoyed that performance from Greyson. That was absolutely mind-blowing, and I don't think I've ever seen a version of Caravan quite like that. And Greyson was actually out at Drumeo with us filming an exclusive course for Drumeo students on big band drumming. And he goes into showmanship and soloing, his traditional grip. He talks about chart reading and vocabulary and so much more. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video. You're going to get to see the brand new trailer for his course. And right now, let's get into the lesson.
To start off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you got into this type of playing, why you think it's cool, and yeah.
I started playing drums at 4 years old, and with a fellow named Justin Gallo. He's probably watching, so hi Justin, thank you. Gave me a great basis of every style, so from reading, orchestra, snare drum, to rock, to pop, everything. A little bit of jazz. And then, I played all through elementary school and junior high school. And then at about, man, I don't want to mess this up, probably like 12 or 13 years old, my middle brother Gabe, he's a saxophone player, and he said, if you really want to, start working here, because I was like, I want to get gigs, things like that. He said, you got to get into jazz, you got to start playing these things, because you can't really sit in on a rock gig, especially where I'm from, Long Island, New York. It's a lot of jazz gigs. It's tougher to sit in on a rock gig or pop gig, unless you really, know the band really well. So it was kind of out of necessity in a way. And I'll be honest, at first, I'm sure you felt the same way. I was like, this isn't really like,
yeah.
It wasn't really for me, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just because it was a particular style. It was like a particular sound, and it wasn't big band anyway. It was like small group. And then for a lot of years, I wasn't crazy into it or anything. And I started to get a little, taste of big band. I was playing in my high school jazz band, which took a little while to get into, but eventually got into it. Yeah. That's a good story itself. Then I did Jazz Lincoln Center Youth Orchestra, which was a big kind of, being exposed to more jazz and more big band, all this kind of stuff. And I fell in love with the drummers in particular of the big band era that had this excitement I'd never seen before. Mm-hmm. And it was this thing of like, well, where is this now? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You'd hear Buddy Rich and you'd hear Gene Krupa, but I fell in love with Sonny Payne. And he was the kind of guy who, like, unless you're really into jazz history, he was kind of like under the radar to me and to people around me. It's like, who's Sonny Payne? Mm-hmm. I started watching, I started listening, and I said, well, first off, nobody's doing what he's doing with, the showmanship, the energy, the intensity, everything like that. And it's just not there. He's like, the drummer is not featured anymore. And I said, what happened on TV? Mm-hmm. And I just started digging into it. And then, I'd already been posting on Instagram at the time.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm going to focus on that style. Because just like I said, nobody's doing it. Mm-hmm. There's something I can do that separates me. Because I was doing, the groove thing or the fill thing. But there was like a million other people doing it. Yeah. And then I said, if I do something different, then maybe it's a good, it's a good idea, stand out.
Absolutely.
So that's the big band story.
So if you were gonna like give a list of names to people who like first of all just wanted to get into this type of playing.
Yeah.
Obviously Sonny Payne, which you mentioned.
Sonny Payne, oh man.
Who else?
Louie Bellson. Louie Bellson. Of course Buddy Rich. Probably one of the most famous names. Gene Krupa.
Yeah.
And then honestly, it's really interesting, we'll talk about this later, but like I started using more drummers like Art Blakey, who isn't even necessarily a big band drummer within the big band style, because I realized his playing, man, that fits so well. The intensity he played with. So why not him? But also using, my other influences, Carter Beauford, Ginger Baker, Mitch Mitchell, all in this one style, because I realized this style, it had a certain amount of freedom in the drums. And that freedom was being exploited by, Buddy and Sonny, all these people. And I said, what if I applied the same ideas from these more, modern drummers, Carter and all these people, Vinny, in a freedom style kind of thing. And I said, this is where it's at. I love this.
Yeah, no, that's super cool, man. So even like going back to that performance which you just opened this lesson off with, like were there elements in there that you got from Sonny or from Buddy? Like, was there anything specific? Like, you did a bunch of stuff, like playing under the cymbal. Obviously, like the one-handed roll, obviously from Buddy, which we'll talk about. But yeah, like that's not something you see, like that type of intensity. And I know you have some great sort of opinions and thoughts on that whole type of thing of drummers being reserved in the band. And obviously, that's not the approach you're taking.
No.
So why don't you talk a little bit about like how that came to be?
Yeah, well, I grew up, like I said, I was playing the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra. I was playing all these different things, the youth orchestra, by the way. I was playing all these different groups, and I had seen it in every style I'd played, but the amount of criticism I was receiving, at first I was like, you know what, I think everybody gets this, you know, you play too much, you play too little, you get this, you get that. And I was like, you know what, this is really interesting. Like, these people, they don't seem to, of course they had it and they followed advice. Advice and, you know, constructive criticism is different than just like shutting somebody's idea down.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it was, you know, the latter. It was really just like, no, no, no. And I was like, well, let's do a little test. So I transcribed an Art Blakey song, and I don't by any means claim I played like Art Blakey, but note for note with like the dynamics he used from, you know, at this section was really loud. I tried my best. You know, I was in probably 10th or 11th grade, you know, so I tried my best. And I was told, no, it was inappropriate, it was this and that. And I said, but if Art Blakey played it, like, of course it'd be different, of course, 100%. Yeah. I'm not Art Blakey, but was it really like what I was playing, or was it like my age? It was just this weird dynamic of, I realized there was this kind of box in the drum world, like in the drum community of this style and this music of, you know, oh, you're playing too loud, you're playing too much, oh, you're overplaying, you're this and that. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but, you know, sorry. Not really sorry, but I was like, okay, well.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I think that goes to a broader point of any musician, artist, entertainer. There's always going to be people who love it, hopefully, but there's always going to be people who aren't on board.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I take it completely on a positive note.
Yeah. Like,
the most positive ever. I think I
love it.
I actually thank the people, not sarcastic, like legit. Like, I actually am thankful for it because, one, it pushed me harder. You know, I had instances when we'll get into it with rejections, things like that, which just made me practice harder, just made me prove these people wrong, just work harder, whatever, where it was working out so I could get fast on drums, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But then the other thing, which is I think the most important, is I realized all this negative, it's actually a positive, not just because of the fuel, but it's a sign. That sign is, I'm doing something different.
Absolutely,
if I was doing something like everybody else, I'd be forgotten. Nobody would hate me because nobody would know who I am.
That's such a good point. Such a good point. So that kind of sets us up kind of where Greyson came from, but I want to dive deeper into some of these drummers that kind of crafted this big band style of playing, which is so clear in the ideas that you use on the kit, even in that opening Caravan performance.
Poor TM2.
Yeah, I know, right?
Recovered.
Gotta love it. So let's dive into some of these kind of like vocabulary ideas and licks that you use in your solos, in your playing. One of my favorites that I'm sure everyone wants to see you play is the Buddy Rich left-hand singles, the one-handed roll. Let's check that out. Why don't you just start by playing it?
Just playing?
Yeah. That's so clean.
Yeah, so
wow.
I started traditional grip with kind of the mindset of, you know, orchestral, I should say, playing, of keeping my wrist really down. Just wasn't comfortable. My wrist was so constrained, and, you know, I guess there's some people whose wrist can just go like this, and just, you know, Buddy like muscled it out, you know, using his whole wrist, kind of like the equivalent would be. I can't do that. I use my fingers and my push-pull and all that kind of stuff. But my wrist, I just didn't have it. So I said, well, I was watching some videos of Drumeo and Tommy Igoe, and I started working, and he taught this here with thumb, pointer. Shout out to Tommy. Best. Thank you so much.
Tommy's the man.
Drumeo, all that kind of stuff, push-pull. But I realized, like, I was watching drummers like Sonny and Louie and all these, Louie Hayes and all these people, and Louie Bellson, all these people, that they weren't very strict with where they kept their wrist, you know, because if you think about it, this is 0, this would kind of be like 100.
Yeah.
You could be at 20, you could be at 50, what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, there's like so many proppers. I was like, there's no proper, I'm just gonna do what works for me. So I said, well, I'm gonna start here. let's try my thumb. It's kind of that joystick motion we talk, and we go in depth with that on the course.
We do.
So it's a motion. Should I show it or keep it for the? Yeah. So basically, the way I'll show it is, you want to take the stick, and you want to start to an extreme, like where you wouldn't do it. Go the complete opposite. There's nothing there, right?
Yeah.
The weight's just not right. And you're gonna find a spot where the stick will bounce. You can do this on a pad or a snare, it doesn't matter. Slowly, you're gonna stay very relaxed, and that's where it all comes from, is that turning a little bit. And you're gonna take the stick, after you practice that a long time, get that really comfortable. And you're gonna start working with using this kind of joystick motion, which the way I describe it is, you see this kind of joint on this side? It's gonna be kind of like a diagonal towards my ring finger. I'm gonna push down right there, and it's kind of like a joystick on a video game. And that is the key. So you're just gonna work on this, and what you're gonna do is over time, these two fingers are kind of like a guide, so the stick doesn't fall or fly that way. These two fingers are doing nothing right now. These are just staying in, you can keep them in, and I'll give you a little practice tip in a second to do that, to practice that. And that is one of the keys. And of course, you could do it with push-pull. You could do it with the thumb pointer. Sometimes I even do pointer, middle, ring. I'll do a bunch of different combinations. There's a lot you can do. You could do a lot of things. And the one tip I'll give you, which my teacher, Ed Balsamo, he taught me, the first time he ever told me to use traditional grip, he picks out a ping pong ball.
Okay.
And he's like, here. And I'm like, why is this man, what, are we gonna play ping pong? Like, we're in his drum room. He's like, no, put it right here, like kind of like this. And he would make me hold it. To the point where I wouldn't drop it. And it just trains you to keep you really loose, but the fingers in.
Yeah.
So you're not sloppy with it.
Gotcha. That's great, man. One of the things you've said a lot this week is don't overcomplicate it. People tend to overanalyze everything to the nth degree. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, what you did makes complete sense, right? Mm-hmm. You tested out what works, what doesn't, and you just stuck with what works.
Simple formula, like literally just find where on the stick feels good, and it's different for everybody. That's why I always had a problem with like, no names, but like I use the X technique. It's like, or I only use this technique. It's like, well, what if it doesn't work for me?
Exactly.
Like my pants don't fit yours. Like, you know, like why? And I just kind of got sick of it. And I was like, you know what? I throw out all technique names. Mm-hmm. I'll just name it kind of like whatever the mode, like a push-pull. I don't know if it's actually push-pull. It's just I'm pushing my fingers, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just play the drums. Like I don't worry about the little
motion
things.
works.
Yeah.
Right? And clearly it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? No, that's great, man. Another thing that, I mean, everyone is saying in the chat and on all your posts and stuff, your hands are fast. Just objectively, right?
I try.
So talking about Buddy Rich, I know that's one of the main topics of this. He has that one solo out there, which I'm sure all of you have seen, that impossible Buddy Rich solo with like 20 million views.
Yeah, something crazy.
And he does that roll similar to the one you see in Whiplash, right? In that final solo scene.
Yeah.
Slow to
like
fast.
What I just did.
Exactly. So can you break down for us, like, what's going on? How are you actually getting up to that speed? Of course, practice, obviously. But what are kind of the motions involved?
It doesn't really make sense to just show it, because it's like that doesn't really help anybody. So,
well, we will want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, though, like right there, I'm seeing exactly what you talked about with the left hand.
Exactly. So if it's a slow tempo, I mean, again, I can muscle it out with my wrist. That's about where it ends. Like right. that. So the beginning is all ripped. Then eventually get to a point where I like to use, again, I don't really know what the name is, I guess you would call it molar, where I'm starting to kind of give myself a little help. It's kind of a combination between molar and push-pull. My right hand. That's all the push-pull kind of thing with my hand. The left hand, it's usually just the thumb and the pointer going back and forth. Yeah. And then, of course, you can wrist it out with the accents. It's kind of like a Mitch Mitchell thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the main takeaway here is obviously those motions you're using, but your hands are loose. Right, I'm not seeing you like gripping the stick, especially in the left hand, right? Like the stick is literally like floating.
Yeah, exactly.
In your hand.
That was the thing. Like a lot of people were like, "Well, why are your hands so like spread out?" It just works for me.
Yeah.
You know, some people, I've seen Louie do it. Like that.
Yeah.
Where it's so precise. One of my favorite things is I'll start doing. You start using your elbow to kind of change the pitch and get some accent, because when you push, it's kind of like an accent.
Yeah.
Or when you pull in, it's kind of like an accent. So it's kind of like built in.
I love that, man. We're going to cover a few more things, but right now, why don't you play us like a bit of a solo?
A solo, all right.
You can use some of that stuff. You can do
this is gonna be
whatever you want, but the floor is yours.
The floor is mine again.
Again.
Look at that.
There will be a third time. At the end of this lesson, there's a ripping up-tempo jazz tune, so stay tuned for that.
But too, right? I'm
sorry?
the first one to play it.
You're the first one to play it. So yeah, take it away, man.
That was fun.
That's the stuff right there. Amazing, man. Nice work.
Thank you.
What, like, one of the main things like of that solo I loved is like there's this clear, like you went from like theme to theme.
Yeah.
I know, like for me, Max Roach was always the guy for those like melodic ideas. Was like Max an influence on your approach to that stuff, or was it mostly like another guy or another player?
I would say so. With like, I kind of see it as two ways, especially like what I just did. I had like two ideas.
Yeah.
And one was starting with like the Max Sonny idea of like little phrases. Like, can I demonstrate? Like, this is just like you could take phrases like this. You could build it. That's just phrase built, phrase built, phrase built. And then I kind of see it as the second one was like a Gary Novak, Carter Beauford solo, like the second part of the first solo, which was like you oriented over a groove. Like. Which is like the L, you know, you could do the Art Blakey. Those are like my two, you know, main idea kind of things for solo.
Yeah, I know like Larnell Lewis is big on like that groove-based solo where like he'll start off with that and then kind of like venture away. But that's cool. Like obviously there's chops in there, but at the core of that there's still like a melodic or like a motivic idea, which is really cool. There's like purpose behind all that.
Absolutely. And I used to have an issue with that. Like I would just kind of just play whatever.
Yeah. Well, clearly
that's part of getting older though. Is like now you realize it'd be a lot cooler if you go. First is like a little cooler. Come on.
I mean,
at least they're both
are super sick, but
you know what I mean. Come on.
No, that's cool, man. One other thing in there, I'm sure people are talking about, obviously the crossovers. You do a lot of that, and I think you said like Buddy, Rufus, and Gene?
Buddy, Rufus, Speedy Jones, Gene, and Art Blakey, absolutely. And it was like a cool thing. It was like, I definitely talked about this in the course a lot. And I was explaining how, yeah, it's a cool visual element, of course. Like, who doesn't want to see a drummer go like that? But, also Carter Beauford on the cymbals, he would do that. But at the end of the day, it's also like, you know, it adds just rhythmic possibilities.
Totally, yeah.
Instead of different patterns, but it's also, I mean, playing it that way, it's all right, you know, but it just adds that little flair to it. You know, that's the entertainment value we were talking about. Showmanship.
Yeah, that's a big part. Obviously, Greyson uses a ton of showmanship when you're playing. It's super cool, but that's a big point of the course that Greyson did inside of Drumeo. How Greyson is bringing that back and how you can actually start incorporating that into your own playing in pretty much any style.
Absolutely, in a complementary way.
Yeah. Going back to this topic of Buddy. So obviously you're kind of known as bringing back the style of music Buddy was playing, this big band jazz from the 40s and 50s and even earlier. And you're often compared to having a similar style to him. So what are your thoughts around that? Is that something that you liked when that happened, or is that something that you completely disagree with?
So I'll say this, like, when I first started getting them, of course, it's like you start to get a little notoriety. It's like, I love it, like fame, oh my God, you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
And then you like see the real side of it and like the legitimate side of like everything about it, every angle of it. And I'll tell you this, it's a very flattering statement. It is.
Absolutely.
But there's two things. The same way you see hate comments and negative comments, you should see positive comments. And I don't mean that as, you know, oh, I don't care if you like me. No.
Yeah.
But you can't let it get to your head because, number one, when people compare me to him, a lot of people comment, well, he's really good, like him, but I hope he's not a jerk.
Yeah.
You know, and that's part of the thing of like the social media thing I think we'll get into of like, it's really tough because people don't know me. You see me through that screen.
Yeah, and that's it.
And the videos.
Yeah.
And I rarely talk in those videos. I talk when I'm here, I talk on a couple of Sweetwater and Memphis drum shop videos, but people think just because, you know, I don't associate with some people or, you know, they don't see me or I'm kind of hidden that like, oh, he must be like a jerk. Or for some reason. You know, it's just a very odd thing. So that's the one thing I kind of have to make clear of like, you got to get to know me. And when people judge you before they know you, of course it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's a fuel, again, it's a fuel thing if people are, you know, hate the whole thing. But I think when the body thing with the style and, you know, oh, you're just copying him, that's not true. That's not true. When people say that, it's like, okay, they haven't seen me enough, you know, the other stuff I play. But of course, he's a big influence. But then again, I talk a lot about Sonny, Rufus, Art Blakey, Carter Beauford, and I just try to be myself with an amalgamation of all the elements I loved about those players.
Exactly.
So why wouldn't I use something from him, like the left-hand thing? If I can do it, it's not copying him. It's just I want to use the element, and it's not like I claim it's mine by any sorts.
Yeah.
I give them full credit, and I'm just trying to take all the elements of my favorite drummers to make me.
Yeah. I know we were talking about like musical identity and the identity of a drummer and kind of taking all these elements from different players, styles, whatever, technique from Buddy, showmanship from some rock drummer or whatever, and kind of fusing all these ideas together to create who you are as a drummer, to develop your own identity. You mentioned in there talking about like social media. Obviously, that was a big part of how you're here today, right?
Absolutely.
Honestly, like it's a big part of it.
I owe a lot to it.
Like, what are your thoughts around social media, being 19, and that being the platform that you blew up on? Yeah,
I mean, you know, it started when I was, you know, 16 or 17. I was just posting, like I said earlier. It wasn't nothing too crazy at the time. And then I remember before COVID, I was at like maybe like 25, 30,000 followers. And in high school, I was known as like, you know, the famous drummer, whatever it was, right? And then I never really cared about fame or anything like that, and it was cool. And then I made a conscious decision. This goes back to the 19-year-old thing of 19-year-olds. There's kids partying, there's kids doing all this fun stuff. And I said, oh, you know what, at lunch, no, I'm not gonna go hang out at lunch, I'm gonna go practice.
Yeah.
And I started separating myself. And this was even before I was 19, you know. This was, whatever, 16, 17 years old. I'm just prefacing it with this. So there started to be kind of a separation between me and my peers. But it was on purpose, for a reason. I needed to. And I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way for that, but it had to be done. Dedication, all these things. But the social media thing was really interesting because once I hit a certain level, it becomes interesting when people you've never talked to start to know who you are. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. And just like I said, almost nobody knows who you really are unless you're, you know, you or my parents.
In the same room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the downsides. But again, it comes with the territory. You never complain about it because you've got to be thankful for what you have. Absolutely. It's given me a lot. But, you know, like we were talking about the course, there's a lot of advice I could give to people on that because, listen, I'm 19, I'm a kid, but I've dealt with a lot in my life, and this has gotten me very far. There's been much challenges, a lot of challenges in my life, and this has given me a lot, and I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah, well, I'll say you're well beyond your years. No, that's all great insight, man. And I think there's a lot of musicians out there, I know I can relate to that, where you turn down certain things, even socially in school and all this, just to go play drums or play music.
Yeah, and nobody understood. Nobody understands.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's not even just like the petty things. It's like, oh, you want to go out? No, I can't. I'm too busy.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you're too busy? It's those kind of little things. And I think in the moment, or even in the week or the month, you don't see it. It's almost like working out.
Yeah.
You don't see it change in like a week. It's over time. And now that I'm here, it's kind of reaffirming, even at this, trip kind of thing.
Yeah.
What the sacrifice I gave up to get here.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term thing, very long-term.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sacrifice, right? It's,
yeah.
You said you started posting stuff online 6 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy, yeah.
But in those 6 years, all of that has grown.
Yes.
Now you're here. People don't see all the behind the scenes.
No.
They see that one video every day, but everything else going into that, what is that, like 20 minutes of your day?
Yeah, I mean, it takes me like 20 minutes to make a video.
Yeah.
That's it.
But then all the practice
But then all the practice that I've done, all the practice I continue to do, all the business things I do, And practicing, like I've talked about in the course, is not just behind your kit. So when someone says I practice for 8 hours, yeah, I'm practicing behind the kit for like 6.5. But like I'm not playing all day.
Yeah.
My hands would fall off. My hands are already falling off. But
I know. I think you got like a cut on your hand.
It's fine.
You're going too hard.
I know. But I think it's really important to remember that when people see these kind of things, they need to, for themselves, if they want to do it, they really need to understand what goes into it.
Yeah. One other thing, we did another exclusive interview with Greyson for his course on Drumeo, and we talked about like music school and kind of like what your fuel is. Right, you mentioned that word a lot.
This is a good one.
I use fuel to do this and to get here and all that. So, like, what is that for you?
All right, I'll give the little backstory if you would like. Yeah, so I'll give the same backstory I gave in that interview. So of course, one struggle in my life, I was very ill at the age of 10. I've talked about in previous podcasts. I won't get into it, the details. Very ill. I was out of school for 3 years straight, pretty much. Separated myself from friends. I was out of school. Had a home tutor. All I did was practice.
I love it.
And I'm not joking. I watched that man over there, Jared Falk, and Dave, and everybody here on Drumeo from age of 10 to 13 or 14 almost every day.
Wow.
It got me through a lot. I practiced in my hospital bed on a practice pad.
Wow.
That was a big thing for my parents to see. They were sleeping in my dad was sleeping, who's in that room, thanks Dad, on a recliner chair in the hospital room while I was there, on Drumeo. So that was one. I got back to school and I was just very, it had given me a lot, and it showed me what, persistence and hard work gets you. I got through that. I was a better drummer at the same time. I had a lot of obstacles. But, a second one, which is what you're referencing, was, everything was going good. I was like, oh, I'm in high school. I think I want to go to music school. I want to do the typical route. I want to audition for all these music schools. I had a bunch. I had a list of, if you name it, I had it on that list. I'm sure everybody can know what those schools are. And for a lot of schools, they had pre-screen auditions. I can't speak today. And that is where you record in a studio, with a little group, basically just showing that you can play the drums. A couple tunes, whatever. So I did it. I sent it to all these schools. And I had already been preparing for almost a year, I think like 9 months, the other etudes for those schools that were for the auditions, not the pre-screens. And I don't want to sound like, well, you shouldn't expect it. But come on, I knew I had confidence. I was like, yeah, I'm going to prepare for the auditions, because come on, it's pre-screen. Send it all in. Get denied all the pre-screens. There was like 2 schools that did need pre-screens, but there was I was denied, and I knew all the kids who got the auditions. Some I knew personally, some I didn't. And the kids I knew personally, I was already in some of the same musical groups with.
Crazy.
So I said, so of course for like a couple days, you're like, you're down on yourself. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, man, maybe I really do suck. Like I was like, business school, here we go. And I was like, this is going downhill. So then I picked myself up and I said, well, I'm gonna do the right thing. I know that there are certain particular people who are in charge of that, who follow me on Instagram. And I said, I'm going to metaphorically say, screw you.
I love it.
So I went down there. I practiced my butt off. These videos sweating. I'm sweating my butt off. Because I said, I'm going to prove you all wrong. All the kids that got it, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove all the instructors wrong. My teachers who were in those schools wrong. Everybody. Because nobody helped me. No. I don't need help. I don't want anybody's help. People were like, oh, we'll talk to them. No. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove them wrong. I don't care what it takes. I started posting. I started doing this, started doing that. And that's where the separation comes, of course, because other than the lunch thing, your way, all the other people are at these schools. And of course, you get the backlash of like, well, why aren't you in this school? Blah, blah, blah. No. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I use it to this day as fuel. I used it then, and honestly, it is, I say it all the time to my dad and my mom, I say, that is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Because I would not be happy if I would have gotten it. I would not be where I am today. I would not be here at all if I'd gotten in. That rejection email was the best thing to ever happen.
That's crazy, man.
It's
such a great story, though. I think every musician,
I think every person.
Yeah.
Because it's just, who cares if it was a school, a music school?
Yeah. Could be anything.
It could be a job.
Yeah.
It could be, you know, my favorites is David Goggins. I mean, he helped me lose like almost 100 pounds. That's a whole nother struggle I went through. And he talks about losing a ton of weight to get in the, you know, he got denied from, I don't want to say this wrong. He had to get into being a Navy SEAL and he had to lose a bunch of weight. Yeah. And they denied him at first. They're like, you need to lose weight. And he used that. No different.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing of, you need to, no matter what it is, push forward. And use it as fuel. The haters, fuel. Yeah. Just make them mad.
Yeah.
Just make them more mad.
Well, when you play the drums, I can almost like feel that energy, right? There's this sense of all that stuff that's happened, right? And that's all coming out on the kit, right?
Yes, and that didn't happen. That wouldn't happen before then.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have it in me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the physicality or the working out, whatever it was. I just didn't have it. I didn't have that chip on my shoulder of like, I need to do this. Like this is my thing.
Yeah, that's so true though. Like there's always a choice, right? You could have got that rejection and thrown it in, said I'm done, but that's not what you did.
No.
Right, and here you are today, right? Yep. I have one more question for you before we close out with that pretty wild tune.
That's gonna be crazy.
So, obviously we're talking about Buddy Rich quite a lot in this lesson. Was Buddy Rich the greatest drummer of all time?
My opinion time, isn't it?
I have no say in this. This is Greyson on the floor.
Oh boy, you're really gonna put me on the
spot. What do you think?
I don't think there is a greatest. That thing is. I will say, in my opinion, there is no greatest. I think there are people that are the best at the time for a certain thing. That's how I'll put it.
I love it.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
There are people who are best at something at a particular time. There's the best runner of X year. Or the X, you know, by most people's standards, this person was the best at X for 10 years. And I mean, I have personal favorites of certain things. You know, I think my number one for technique and just facility and speed is Buddy, He's the best in that category for that time period for me.
Yeah.
You know, showmanship and energy and actual attitude on the drum set, Sonny. Yeah. That's how it is, you know. Just ridiculous, like, stupid speed where it's like, I don't understand Rufus. The crossovers, I mean, I don't even want to, it's just stupid. And the list goes on and on.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much for being here, man. It's been an honor having you in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
We'll definitely do it again soon.
This is going to be awesome. Listen, thank you.
Yeah, man. So this is...
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, everybody in there.
This is, Greyson's going to close us out with a track called Trajectory.
Oh, boy.
This was written by a great friend of mine, Chris Fischer. He also did the version of Caravan you heard at the beginning of this lesson. This is Greyson Nekrutman.
Your favorite drummers listen to big band music. We're not talking about elevator music here. The mindset and the attitude towards big band drumming goes way farther. The attitude, the intensity, the way you play, the way you approach the drums. It's all about freedom. John Bonham, Neil Peart, Ginger Baker. My personal favorite, Carter Beauford, claims he started drumming when he saw Buddy Rich play. Jazz drumming can seem so daunting. It's a complicated thing with a lot of history. Don't overcomplicate it. It does not matter if you've been playing for 1 day or 20 years. This course is guaranteed to add something to your drumming. I've never been the type to overcomplicate technique. I'll show you how I play the drums, and I'll explain how practicing comes from not only playing, but watching, listening. Your technique is going to be greatly increased. Your speed, your fluidity, of course, those are all great things. Your entertainment, confidence on the stage. You're going to be more inspired to play drums because I'm about to demystify big band drumming. I'm Greyson Nekrutman, and I'm your Drumeo coach.
Well, we got bloopers, that's for sure.